Okay, I think we're live.
Good afternoon, it's Mark Ed. I'm happy to be here at the Johnstown Community Arts Center in Westmont, Pennsylvania. And I get to talk to you for a while about myself and the artwork that I do. And also to receive questions that you might have pertaining to me. I don't know really where to start, so I'm going to rely on Rachel.
All right, so this is my first question. Coming from such a large family of artists, how did you find your personal style?
I found my personal style by trying to be original and not doing the same thing that my brothers and sisters were doing. And they did from, piano to drums, trumpet, various instruments, and also talents that I just kind of found my own place where I felt original. And I invite any questions for those of you that are watching, or please to submit your questions also to this little time for this.
All right, and do you have a favorite piece of art from the exhibit? I know it's kind of like choosing like your favorite child, but...
Well, definitely, they would be one of these from in back, that more of the two-dimensional, well, they're kind of three-dimensional and two-dimensional at the same time, but the latest genre that I've been working on, they would be my favorite so far.
All right, and what are you currently working on?
Well, right now, I'm kind of taking a break from painting since I've been, all of the paintings in the show, which really there's over 24 new paintings and work of art, but they're probably 6 months old or less. Like these ones here in back of me, but they were born in January. And so, it was an extreme amount of painting day and night, getting ready for the show. So there's a time to kind of break. And actually, I'm starting to work on the lines for Linus in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
All right, and what would you say to aspiring artists?
Oh my. I would say you're very lucky and you're very blessed, and to keep your mind open, be adventurous, always like to explore, but be persistent and determined.
Do you want to mention the student artwork behind you?
Oh, I'm very happy to, yeah. The students from Conemaugh Valley were here, and we spent some time together, and they made works of art kind of to emulate what I was working with. And they did it in a way that they were working with each other. There were 15 students, and they 3 of them all worked together on certain pieces, and they made them very, very creative. And it was fun to see the work come to life as they were doing it. Many times you don't need to have, now, although these were done with the 3/4 inch plywood and canvas, and there was stuffing and of course gesso, and it was very much more involved, but it did start out as a cardboard model, and the kids kind of went to town making their own thing, and I think it's just wonderful. Now, and I'm very happy to be able to, well, I guess teach in my own way of passing on information to aspiring artists. And there's components involved with teaching, and I think a lot of it has to do with listening to your student and listening and then meeting that need that I love to share information and gather information, and not necessarily from artists, but from anyone. You know, everyone that you meet knows something that you don't. And so if you're open, you can learn something from that person. And it's very, little details mean a lot to me, especially in art when I'm talking about that. But there's details in life also. There's another question?
All right, so, what, do you use social media at all or a lot to promote your art?
No, I don't. I used to, and I'm so happy for the platform that the gallery has for the social media, but I have personally declined on that because it's very time consuming for me, and it just doesn't work that well. Now, I used to use it when COVID started, and that's the first time I got onto the social media, and there are many songs that I've sung and played on the social media, on the Facebook, but yeah, but not anymore.
All right, and we actually have a question from Lida Hood.
Lida.
Do you sketch your ideas on paper first and then proceed from there?
That's a great question. And for certain kinds of artwork, like illustration, such as these pieces here, they're always sketched and before, and then more or less colored in. On a canvas, not so much. A canvas, there might be a few lines, but that's about it, you know.
All right, and before this, you mentioned a little bit about music. So, do you listen to music when you create? And if so, what music do you listen to?
Oh my, I love music, and I always listen to music when I'm working. I have a record player, and there's a lot of albums that I have. Now, lots of times the music will stop, and I'll be painting and wondering why there's no music, because I have to flip the album over. And but ZZ Top, James Taylor, Carole King, Lou Reed. There's a lot of different, the Beatles, Stevie Wonder. There's a lot of people that I love, yeah.
All right, and what was the most challenging part about creating the art for Unpredictable, if there was a challenging part?
The challenging part was the paint. Oil paint takes a long time to dry, and that's the medium that I choose to work with. And, you know, paintings that are done or started in January, as in the framing and the stretching of the canvas and the preliminary work, that had to be done by the first week of January, because I had to be through with my painting at least by the last 2 weeks of February, because the show had to be hung by March 5th. So you have to think ahead of these kind of little tasks that have to be done for that's a challenge to do. But you make the obstacles an adventure, and you make it fun. And if you manage your time, it's not impossible. It's challenging, and that's how it should be.
And then how did you know when the exhibit was done?
Well, I knew when it was hung. When I brought on the work and I hung everything, I knew it was done. Hung and done.
All right, so did you always want to be an artist?
Yes,
Yes.
yes I did.
All right, so follow-up question for that. What does being an artist mean to you?
Oh, it means everything in the world. You know, it's an opportunity for me to express new ideas, to make things. It's an opportunity for me to work with different materials and work with different people. You know, and the arts doesn't even really end with the painting and the sculpting. You know, the music is very important. Now, you know, as far as writing goes, and dancing and theater, which is all a part of the arts, I am not much of a dancer. I love to dance, but you know, but then there's the theater is a wonderful, you know, what do you call it? Finger of the arts, you know, dancing, theater, writing, photography, and visual arts. And, you know, there's, each one of those is very important to me, you know.
All right, and we actually have a question from Angela Godin. I believe she wasn't here for the beginning of when we asked this question, but what is your favorite piece in this show?
The favorite piece, I would say, I think I really like this one. I like this one a lot. And this illustrates a lot of all of the others. And it's a beautiful, I had no idea of what it would turn out to be when it was first started. And then so many times I try to do something that is different than what I've done before. And therefore, if you look around, a lot of the paintings, they're all people, and they all have faces and eyes. And I wanted to do something that didn't necessarily look like a person. But yet I wanted to dress them in costume-like colors and patterns of material and things like that. But here, the eye started appearing and comes through just because it had to be. You know, I had no idea. I didn't even want that. But yet, in the process, my process of working, it evolves into something like that, which makes it very unpredictable. And I think unpredictability is one of the adjectives to describe creativity. I think that creativity is very unpredictable. And that's the whole idea. You want to come up with something original, but yet when you think about it, everything has been done under the sun forever, you know, and we just learn different ways to approach subjects.
I saw that Lida said that that's her favorite too.
Oh, nice.
And Lida also, she said, "I love your bright colors. How many layers of paint are in the pieces behind you?"
Well, I would say at least 6, 7 layers easily. And see, that takes a long time for oil paint to dry, and then you put in another layer. Which is why I worked on all of these paintings at the same time. Because you would have colors, you'll see the same color repeated in different ways and combinations in the paintings. But that's the way I like to approach a show. The paintings are kind of like characters and little actors, and they all need a little bit of work at the same time.
All right, and you mentioned, like, just now when you were saying they're kind of like little actors, and you mentioned how a lot of these pieces have a human aspect to them. Do you try to capture a human essence in all of your paintings?
I have to. I mean, it's just part of my DNA. I mean, it just comes, that's what I'm interested in. That, and so it just naturally comes out that way.
All right, and also, what is your favorite medium?
Well, for working on a canvas, I love oil paint. But working on a, like something like clay, I love this medium because it's so different, and it actually, there's a transformation from clay into ceramic, which is unbelievable, you know, like that's almost like a magic. But I love working with clay, and I love working with fiber, the yarn, different sand, anything that I could really touch, I like to work with, yeah, that you could put together in a way.
And how long have you been working with ceramics and clay?
Ever since I was a kid, you know, 5, 6 years old.
All right, and you know, speaking of when you were a kid, did growing up in Johnstown influence the art that you do?
Well, yeah, I think really, I mean, I was blessed to be from a family of artists, that art materials were always around. Musical instruments were always around, and it was part of our family's, the way we did things, you know, it was just to make music and to make art because it was fun. And then I was so blessed with having Glenn Brocker and Doris Wilson. They're both not with us right now, but they were my art teachers in junior high and high school. So I was very blessed, you know, with that kind of influence.
And what would you say to those trying to find their way in art who maybe don't have that, you know, support system, maybe from a teacher or a parent, you know, being so blessed to have a family who accepts what you do? What would you say to those?
I would say look at as much art as you can of different styles and different kinds of art. I mean, I'm close to 65, and I still don't know so many artists and so much art that has already been done. And in a way, it's wonderful because art is so prevalent in the world, but in another way, it's kind of sad because there's not too much time left to explore and to know. But there's so much out there that I would encourage through books and magazines, and I love seeing it in person, although digitally it's very good and useful, but to actually go out and see things that, you know, in person, it's very important.
And we have a question from Angela, and she asks, who has been the most influential person in your growth as an artist?
Oh my. That's, I don't know. I mean, I can't really think. There's so many people that, you know, I really can't say. honestly, I can't think of an answer for that.
All right, and then I would ask, who is your muse then?
Oh, of course, my Cindy. Cindy is great. And, you know, that I love to learn with her and to laugh with her, love with her, and live with her. And it's, again, it's something that her field is more into the sciences, being in medicine. And, you know, you asked me a long time, you know, did I always want to be an artist? Yes. But if I couldn't have been an artist, I would want to have been a doctor. But I love the, well, first of all, those lab coats that they would wear, and doctors look very good. But in a way, the stronger point is doctors really help people. But so you can turn it around a little bit. Art can help people. I mean, my art can't help a person like a doctor's medicine, but artwork is, I mean, to create it and to share with others how to create and things, that has a lot of healing properties in it. So in a way, you know, maybe it's that wanting to be like her, you know, that causes me to talk that way. But our conversations are great, and she definitely always has me thinking of new ideas.
And then you mentioned learning. So what is the most helpful thing you've learned on your art journey?
I have learned to, you know, to be patient, but patience is a virtue that is, I think, developed through a lot of testings and some kind of disappointments, and, you know, and I've learned to take my time, as, you know, my mom would always say. Now, my mom was a seamstress, and, you know, taking your time in making stitches is very important, because if you don't, it looks sloppy. Taking your time in painting, however, can be a lot of looking at the painting, and only 2 seconds you change it with a mark or something different. But anyways, with taking your time, it is a journey. And that journey is just beautiful if you really enjoy what you're doing. You will run into obstacles, you will run into problems, but it is a journey in my head that I know that when I go back to the studio to pick up the brush, I know that it'll be a special moment.
All right, and is there a piece of advice that anyone, any artist, any person has told you that you've kept with you, you know, along your journey?
Oh, yeah, I wish I could remember them now. There's so much good advice. Well, don't become too attached to your work. You know, it's only work. And I think I might have had a little bit of a conversation with you or one of the people, but it's almost like when you're cooking, you're loving the ingredients that you're making. And so we're making, say, spaghetti sauce, and the garlic is going, and the olive oil, and, you know, the tomatoes are about ready to, you know, and this combination of things that it's the same to me in painting, that, you know, oh, this is a really good batch of, you know, red, or this really good batch of orange, and it's going to look so good. The flavor is going to be so good against this blue, you know. And then, you know, it's done, and you have your meal, you enjoy it, but then, you know, sometimes people say, are you going to sell that? Are you going to get rid of it? Well, yes, that's the idea, you know, and to hang on to something like because you made it or it's so, you know, I don't get that. That you can always do it over. It won't be exactly the same, no. And, you know, a lot of times you know, excuse me for I guess the metaphor or something with cooking, because a lot of times with recipes, you do want them to be the same. That's why they taste so good. You don't want it to be too salty or too sweet, you know. But with paintings, they will be similar, and you can see the artist's signature. But really, I think that people are looking for some originality.
And Lyda Hood, she says, I love that you always come up with new ideas. You're a wonderful inspiration.
Oh, thank you, Lyda.
And we have actually a message comment. Is there a medium that you would like to use that you haven't used yet?
Yes. There are some things that I see on TV of like people making things that I think are incredible, like with these foam that you could sculpt and work with. I love that because it's lightweight and it would be a perfect base for, you know, paper mache or things like that. I am not. I have a brother, Norman, who is incredible at like say on the bandsaw and the jigsaw, that's not an easy task to cut these shapes out. And I am okay at it, but not as experienced. I don't have the expertise that my brother Norman has, and such as in welding, you know. And I know that if I would learn that, it would open up a lot of new possibilities for my creations, but I am not at that place. And I don't know if I'm just satisfied. I mean, so much of my world is color. I just love color. And many times in sculpture, it's not about the color, you know, it's about something else. But
All right, and you were mentioning the cooking, and I know we talked previously and how really your art style is based on love, cooking with love.
Yes.
So how has your art style progressed through the years to get to this point?
well, oh my, I think it's just progressed naturally, you know, as the work, you know, it's. There are many things that I've done that I forgot about until I see a photograph of it. And I know that it would be counted as somewhat prolific, but I can always remember when I see it that, oh yes, I did do that, you know. And it's nice because it just reminds me of how fast the time goes, really. And speaking of time is going
Yes.
pretty fast.
Mhm. I don't see any questions on here right now. Is there anything else you wanted to say? Anything about your workshop coming up, Market Unpredictable?
And I'm very excited about the workshop coming up on April 2nd, and it will be an experience of creativity, and I'm very excited to be with people, you know, out in physical on that. So come to the Art Center here, enjoy the show. This show will be up until the 29th of April, And I'm also doing a dinner concert on the 22nd of April, which is a Friday, and that should be a very special event. I'm practicing a lot of songs and singing a lot of songs that I've written or that are just cover songs, that I've done before. And I'm, again, very thankful for this opportunity to do this presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.